Okay, I've admitted everyone and everyone's in.
Thank you, Faith. All right, so let's go ahead and call this June 7th Livingston City Commission meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Chair News.
Here.
Vice Chair Kale. Oh, I didn't hear. Did she say?
I'm here.
Okay, having a hard time hearing you.
Okay. Hear me now?
Yes. Commissioner Friedman? Commissioner Friedman? Can you guys hear me okay?
Faith, I can hear you well. I don't hear Commissioner Friedman though, but I see that he's here. Mel, can you hear us? Can you hear us, Mel?
Barely.
Okay.
I could hear some more.
Okay, you're here. We'll move on. Commissioner Schwartz?
Present.
Commissioner Lyons?
Hey, Ro?
Here.
Ro? Can I get the?
All right, thank you, Faith. So as we're getting started tonight, before I open it to public comment, I want to welcome everyone. And I want to acknowledge that this meeting probably feels pretty awkward and too soon for a lot of us here on the call tonight. But we do have some time-sensitive items that the commissioners need to vote on so that our city staff can keep projects moving forward this summer. So I just want to offer my deep gratitude to everybody that's on the call tonight for being here in light of what we all experienced collectively recently. And as we move into public comment, please note that this is not the appropriate time for the public to discuss the recent tragic loss of our city manager, Mr. Cardus. As usual, individuals are reminded that public comments should be limited to items over which the City Commission has supervision, control jurisdiction, or advisory power. So if you're here to give general public comment on an item that's not on the agenda, please raise your hand and I'll ask you to state your name and address for the record. Does anybody here want to give general public comment? Okay, I don't see any. So we'll move into consent items. Commissioners, is there anything that you want pulled for discussion, or do we have a motion on consent items A and B?
I make a motion to approve consent items A and B.
I'll second.
So a motion by Schwartz and a second by Kale. Roll call, please.
Chair News?
Four.
Vice Chair Kale?
Or
Commissioner Friedman?
Or.
Commissioner Schwartz?
4.
Commissioner Lyons?
4.
Motion passes. Okay, before I go any further, I just want to do a quick agenda check because I think a few things are being pulled from the agenda tonight. So we have one proclamation. Mrs. Lowy, I'm going to ask for your help to make sure that I get it right. I believe we're going to go ahead and pull ordinance number 3033.
That's correct.
Okay, is there anything you wanted to?
I was just offer that the issues surrounding the actual parade route have been resolved for this year. So this is an ordinance that's really going to take into account setting guidelines for subsequent years. So we can bump this one this evening and put it on at a later date.
Okay, thanks. And then I have resolution B, which is resolution number 5040, that we're going to bump that one tonight also.
That is correct. We are still finalizing some language with the Department of Commerce for the actual resolution contents for the grant submission. So they've done a couple of changes here in the last day or so. So I just want to hold this and it'll reappear on the next meeting.
Okay, and then I have The third thing that we can take off tonight's agenda is action item A, the streetlight maintenance assessment methods.
That's correct. We've hit a point in the budget process now where we're really too far along to change the methodology of how we do those calculations. Seeing how that we do have the enterprise fund meeting next week. So this is one that will appear again in subsequent meetings to discuss if there's a change to the methodology that you all would like to consider.
Okay, thank you. I think, is there anything I'm missing or is that good for now?
I think that's good for now. We can
Okay.
get into ones that may be able to be bumped later.
Thank you. All right, so we're going to start with a proclamation. And I will trust that Faith can pull things up if she chooses for the shared screen. Otherwise, I'm just going to read from the agenda packet. So a proclamation declaring June 27th through July 4th, 2022 as Rodeo Days in Livingston. Whereas in October 1923, Livingston's Charlie Murphy was the first to host a rodeo in Madison Square Garden, brought his rough stock to Livingston for the very first Livingston Roundup Rodeo. And whereas in 1926, the Livingston Roundup Association was officially established to promote rodeos, roundups, riding, and roping contests to promote Park County. Whereas the Livingston Roundup is one of Montana's largest PRCA rodeos, and the annual festivities have become an important tradition full of fun summer activities, drawing audiences from all over the world to our community. And whereas the Livingston Area Chamber will kick off the festivities with its annual parade on July 2nd, this year's theme is Yellowstone National Park and our community's 150 years together. The parade is made possible with the assistance of hundreds of volunteers and thousands of fans and spectators who enjoy every minute along with the exciting variety of area rodeo events and entertainment in our community. And now therefore, I, Melissa Newts, Chair of the City Commission in the City of Livingston, Montana, do hereby proclaim June 27th through July 4th, 2022 as Rodeo Days in Livingston. All right, commissioners, anybody want to say anything before we move into other agenda items? Okay, so we will glide on into resolutions. So we're going to start tonight with resolution number 5036. It's a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, authorizing the city manager to sign a memorandum of understanding with Park County for the relinquishment of control over joint owned property for the development of recreational trails on Old Boulder Road. It was tabled from the May 3rd meeting. Mrs. Lowy, I was thinking about tabling and how to deal with tabling, but that comes later. So Mrs. Lowy, please.
Thank you, Chair Newts. This was tabled to gain some clarifying information with regards to insurance coverage. Attorney Llewellyn has had some conversations with MMIA that have confirmed coverage, and I'll let her speak to the specifics of those conversations.
Good evening, commissioners. I was able to visit with Alan Hulse in the last 10 days or so, and they acknowledged that there will be coverage whether or not we divide the interest in the property. And their preference would be that we not have no control over a project, but there will definitely be coverage because it's co-owned.
Mrs. Lowy, do you have any? Sorry, go ahead. I'm sorry.
If anybody had any specific questions, I'll take those.
Great. Commissioners, do you have any clarifying questions on this?
Yes, Madam Chair.
Oh, go ahead, Commissioner Schwartz.
That is if we hold, that takes place if we still hold joint ownership, right? If we give up, obviously, our ownership of, our half ownership of that property, we're not involved in the insurance going forward, correct?
Correct.
And the resolution's reading that we're relinquishing control over that property.
The changes that we made in the resolution, or the requested changes that we made in the resolution to pull those pieces out that relinquish control at the last meeting, are still part of the motion and the discussion that was tabled,
Okay.
which was not to divide the parcels.
So am I reading this resolution right? Is to relinquish control over that joint owned property?
That was the resolution, and the request was by the commission, could we remove those portions of the resolution and the agreement? The agreement is on, starts on page 45. And we pulled out the number E, whereas, and we pulled out the number 6 where, or in the now therefores.
Okay.
At that last meeting. That was the commissioner's request.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. I yield.
Sure, Newt.
Yeah, go ahead, Commissioner Kale.
I think I may be asking the same question that Warren or that Quentin asked, but I don't know that I don't think it was answered. I understand the MOU and what was pulled from it was what we had asked. If we move forward with that version 2 of the MOU, in the resolution itself, we would then need to remove the whereas the city of Livingston agrees to relinquish its control over the property depicted in Exhibit A. So that would have to be removed in a motion. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Do any commissioners have other clarifying questions? About this before move on? Okay, so if I'm remembering process correctly, we motioned to table this. So if we want to move forward with this, I think we need to make a motion to take it off the table. And then we'll have to vote on the motion to take it off the table. And then when it's off the table, we'll be able to open it to public comment and deliberate. Is that right? Okay. Yay, I remembered. So do I have a motion from the commission to take this off the table, resolution number 5036?
I'll make a motion to take resolution number 5036 off the table.
I'll second.
So a motion by Kale and a second by Schwartz. And now we're going to vote on the motion to take this off the table so that we can discuss it. So I don't think that I need to open this up to comment, do I? I'm just looking to Courtney. Do I need to open this one up to public comment before we take a motion off the table?
No, this is a procedural motion. You
Okay.
don't have to have public comment on the table motion.
Thank you. Okay, roll call, please.
Chair Newts,
For,
Vice Chair Kale,
Or
Commissioner Friedman,
Or,
Commissioner Schwartz,
Or
Commissioner Lyons.
or,
motion passes. Okay, so now we can open this up to public comment before we begin our deliberation. So if there's anybody here from the public that wants to comment on resolution number 5036, please put your hand up or your name in the chat. Or if you have trouble doing either of those things, you can just come off mute. Any public comment on resolution 5036? Okay, public comments closed for this agenda item, and now it'll go back to the commission. So commissioners, comments, thoughts on this resolution and the update we got from staff. Commissioner Lyons.
This is probably the third iteration of the same question. The language at the top of the resolution still says for the relinquishment of control over joint owned property. So I imagine if we do make a vote, we need to say something to the effect of changing that language to address our what we had discussed earlier. And please forgive me if I didn't follow the resolution on that earlier, but I still needed some clarification also.
Yeah, Commissioner Lyons, that's my understanding, is that when the motion would be made, whoever made that motion would amend the language as Vice Chair Kale previously had it confirmed from the city attorney.
Thank you. I yield.
And it's my understanding that also the amended text that the city attorney already noted, which you can see on pages 49 and 50 of the agenda, has the underline and the strike through would be the new language that we would be accepting. And I'm just going to look to city staff for confirmation. I see a yes nod. Okay. So any other commissioner comments on this? Well, I'll just say that I really appreciate that staff was able to get some clarity around this issue. I know in our strategic plan, we have highlighted goals of collaborating with the county on projects like this. So I'm really glad that there was a path forward that could work for the city and the county. Hopefully, I think the county has yet to vote on this, the county commission, but I'm glad that there's at least a path forward that holds our strategic plan values in place also with this particular project. Any other comments from the commissioners before a motion? Okay, so does any commissioner want to make a motion on this agenda item?
I'll try to make the motion. Let's see. I'll make a motion that we approve resolution number 5036 with the following amendments: that we will remove for the relinquishment of control over the joint owned property in the opening of the resolution, that we will remove whereas the city of Livingston agrees to relinquish control over the property, that entire paragraph, and that we are approving version 2 of the MOU.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, and I just want to clarify really quick with Mrs. Lowy to make sure that she caught those amendments as they were stated. Okay, thank you. Okay, so now we are ready for roll call vote, please.
Chair Newts,
For,
Vice Chair Kale,
Or
Commissioner Friedman,
Four.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Four.
Commissioner Lyons.
Or
motion passes. So the next resolution is one that we're bumping, so we're moving forward to, it doesn't have a number in this part of the packet. Let me flip forward. Okay. The resolution doesn't have a number. Mrs. Lowy, I'm just realizing I don't know if that matters for this particular agenda item. I'm sorry, I didn't notice this sooner.
If it goes in order, it should be 41.
Yep, I see it now. Thank you so much, Schwartz, Commissioner Schwartz. Okay, so it's on page 65 if you're following along. It's letter C. So it's resolution number 5041, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, authorizing the city manager to sign a general services agreement with Tree Incarnation Arbor Care Incorporated for the Livingston Tree Inventory Update, an amount not to exceed $12,000. It actually says $12,500. So I'm just going to go by, let's see, is it 12,000 or 12,500, which is the correct number? Mrs. Lowy.
12,500.
Okay, thank you. All right, so Mrs. Lowy, do you want to give us some background on this?
Thank you. We received grant funding from DNRC to update and complete our tree inventory to assess the health, the species species, and other components of the trees within the city. So we did receive a $5,000 grant. These are the funds that would get us to completion of that project. And if there's any specific questions or further comments, I'll turn over to Shannon Holmes, who's been working with the vendor pretty closely at this point to develop the path forward for this project.
So commissioners, do you have any clarifying questions on this? Okay, so let's open it to public comment for resolution number 5041. If there's anyone here that wants to give comment, please raise your hand or put your name in the chat. Okay, public comment is closed for this agenda item. Just realized that we didn't have a motion yet, and that's okay. But I will take a motion if there's a commissioner that wants to make a motion on this agenda item now.
Make a motion to approve resolution 5041.
Second.
So motion by Schwartz and a second by Friedman. Commissioners, comments? Well, I'll chime in and say I'm really excited about this project. I think it's been a while since we've had a tree inventory update, and I'm really interested in hearing what Shannon and his staff learn from the update and what kind of good information they glean and can share with us in the future. And I think, if I remember correctly, at a tree board meeting, it sounded like maybe this could be done this summer and fall. Is that right? That might be a pretty short-term kind of project.
Madam Chair, that is correct. So the grant does require us to submit the report back to them and the updated information by October.
Excellent.
And Kyle has met with Stephen J., our GIS technician, and he is ready to go. He has an R1 Trimble transceiver, and we're hoping to get accuracy within 3 feet for all of our trees south of Park Street. And I just want to really commend this community. First of all, Lisa is an excellent grant writer, so we couldn't do these grant projects without her. Second, we as a community have removed and replaced over 100 trees in the last year. And then thanks to the generosity and volunteerism of Park County Environmental Council, we've planted additional 60. So for our community to have at least 160 trees planted within the last 12 months is very impressive. And this inventory not only complements future grant applications, but certainly improves our urban forest management capabilities and complements our Emerald Ash Borer plan. So we're excited for Kyle to get started.
Thank you, Shannon. Any other commissioner comments?
Yes, I'd just like to include AmeriCorps in the helping of planting those trees through PCEC. I got to meet, several of them. They did a great job. I yield.
Other commissioners?
Shannon, thank you for your leadership in all of this. It's been so amazing to see all those trees go up, and there's been lots of folks. I know that there were different landscaping companies that helped as well to get a lot of those trees planted. So it was a real community effort, and it's been exciting to see that. And I was super excited to get a tree in my house. I've had all my boulevards paved, and I finally got one knocked out. So I have one tree finally in my yard, and I'm very excited about it. So in my boulevard, but it still feels good. So thank you to everybody that helps do that.
Anybody else? All right, Livingston loves trees. We are ready for a roll call vote.
Chair Newts,
For
Vice Chair Kale,
Four.
Commissioner Friedman,
Four.
Commissioner Schwartz,
Or
Commissioner Lyons.
Or,
Motion passes. All right, now we're moving to resolution 5042. Let me find what I'm reading. There is a fill in the blank, so I will ask staff to help me after I read the resolution. A resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, authorizing the city manager to sign a general services agreement for construction of the Civic Center sewer line connection project and authorize the city manager to execute the use of contingency funds as deemed necessary. And I'm hoping, Faith, that you can help us by maybe pulling up the relevant visuals as needed. Mrs. Lowy, can you also give just like a little general background of this, since I think this might be new to a couple of the commissioners, but a topic we've talked about at great length for some of the other commissioners.
Sure. So the quick version of it is the Civic Center is currently served by a septic tank and drain fields. And being as close as it is to the Yellowstone River, as well as being a very old and antiquated system, there is some risk there for us, especially as the use at the Civic Center has continued to rise. So we received a $320,000 grant from MSEP, the Montana Coal Endowment Program, to connect the Civic Center and the surrounding areas to our sewer services, so that we are no longer on a septic tank in that area. And this agreement is time sensitive because we do need to cut through the high school parking lot. So we need to get through there and get that completed while they are out of school and have the parking lot returned to usable status before the return of school at the end of August. So with that is why this one is a little bit more time sensitive and why it still remains on the agenda this evening.
Thank you, Mrs. Lowy. I just want to ask a couple of clarifying questions first. One was who the services agreement is with. And then the other one was, and I'm sorry if I missed this in the items, what the percentage of contingency funds are, because usually those are spelled out somewhere, and I just wanted to make sure we have that covered.
Okay, it is with Askin Construction Incorporated, and for the contingency portion, I do have a total project cost in here of approximately $752,320, of which is funded by the grant from MSEP. And I will turn over to Shannon as far as what portion of that may be contingency. I'm not seeing it spelled out in the contract version that I have right now. So Shannon, if you, hate to put you on the spot, but if you would, if there is a portion of that that's contingency, or if that is just the cost of the project, that would be great.
I'd be happy to do that, and I'm gonna have to probably ask Courtney's help on what dollar figure. Did we just put 641,600 into the general services agreement?
The general services agreement, I think, is at the 641 plus the contingency up to 752.
Okay, so it's industry standard that at least for Livingston, that we put a 10% contingency on construction projects, especially of this size. So, I manage all of these projects with TD&H, our city engineer, and again, we have some familiarity with Askin. They're currently working on 6th and 7th. Their project manager was involved in a project downtown. So we're very, we're very comfortable with the bid that they provided because we have a good design from TD&H. But I will tell you, if everybody has a moment, the amount of effort that we have had to put in to get to this point is actually unprecedented for a project like this. So I just want to let everybody know the school district has been great to work with, and we've presented an easement previously to the commission to sign that they've allowed us to go across the school parking lot. DEQ is having significant staffing issues, as is the city. I've had to talk to the director to expedite the review and approval from DEQ for this project. And then given the lead times for materials, 2 weeks ago, we ordered the sewer manholes for this because they have a 9 to 13 week lead time. And this has all been done just so we have a window after the 4th of July to get the sewer installed across school property and get it repaved and resurfaced and put it back in as good or better condition than we found it. So we've pulled a lot of strings, and I can assure you I'm comfortable with the commission approving just a 10% contingency. There is another expenditure that's attached to this project that we'll present at the next commission meeting, and that's the construction management contract that you typically see from TD&H to do inspection, material testing, and ensure that the contractor is following the plans and specs. And that's going to be around $50,000. So I hope that's probably a long-winded response, and I hope it answered your question, Madam Chair, but I'd be happy to answer any more because I've put a lot of heart and soul in this project to get it to this point.
Thank you, Shannon. Yeah, I just, as a process, part of the process to make sure we're doing a good job as a commission to get the staff what they need, I want to make sure that if we need to have it spelled out what that contingency percentage is, that we have that included. I might be missing it, but I'm not seeing it in the text of the documents. And I think last time there was a motion made to add it to the resolution so we could make sure staff could still have that wiggle room in case there's unexpected things that come up. Does that sound right, Mrs. Lowy, that somebody can just make the motion and spell out the percentage of the total so that budget line item is approved? Okay.
Fine.
Okay. Other commissioners have questions, clarifying questions about the project?
Chair Newt.
Yeah, go ahead, Vice Chair Kale.
Shannon, I was just gonna ask, I just noticed like in line, looks like line 6 of the tabulation, of the bid tabulation, it's talking about the repair like to the baseball field and the resurfacing of the playing field and the removal and rebuild of the dugout. What the engineer had estimated and what the construction company gave a lot lower of a bid. Are we going to be good at making sure we get stuff back the way it was with that?
Absolutely. That's my responsibility as a public works director. It's been a pleasure working with Maggie. Again, all the athletic organizations that use that facility have been informed of this project for quite some time. Once the commission approves this contract, that gives the contractor the flexibility to start buying materials and put together their schedule. And, we certainly, if you refer back to the alignment, we're going to be impacting, farmers markets, any events at the band shell. And again, Maggie and the school district and our communication has been great at this point. So no one should be surprised that we're doing this project. And I just want to say, I've been wanting to do this for 9 years, and I've been in my position for 9 years and 1 month. This is critical. We're not only getting the Civic Center off of a septic system, we're getting the bathrooms in Sacagawea Park off of a septic system, and the bathrooms in Miles Park and concession stands all on city sewer for this. So plus we're working with the school to get their concessions and locker rooms for our football field connected to this city sewer main as well. So It's a very important project for environmental reasons.
No, I think this is a great project. I just wanted to make sure we're setting enough money aside to get that done, to just look like way lower than what the engineer's estimate was, so.
It was, and then if you look, there's some others that are actually higher. Again, we typically have a mandatory pre-bid for contractors bidding our projects and do a field walkthrough. So I trust that they have enough money budgeted to do what they need to do to replace those facilities if indeed they are damaged.
Great, thank you.
Other commissioners, does anyone else have clarifying questions?
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Friedman.
I've been looking at this project for the last several years. I've been on the commission for 12 years. And it's always great to, the work that Shannon's done along with all the other people in the office, to be reducing ourselves to one pool in the park. And the one pool in the park is where the kids go in the summer. But all year long, we've always had the other pool. And so it's going to be so great to see that disappear. And I want to thank you all for the way this has worked out. It sounds like a super plan, and very happy to hear about it. Thank you.
Thank you. Other commissioners? Otherwise, I am ready for a motion.
I would be happy to make a motion for on resolution 5042. It's been a long time coming.
I have a motion by Schwartz. Do I have a second?
Do we need to add that contingency
Second.
language?
Yeah, we can do a super quick amendment. Vice Chair Kale.
Yeah,
You want to amend your motion, Commissioner Schwartz?
I make a motion to approve resolution 5042 with the stipulation of a 10% contingency on the amount of 641,600.
Okay, so motion by Schwartz, second, full second.
Second,
Okay, so motion by Schwartz, second by Friedman. To approve resolution 5042 with the 10% contingency fund. And now we'll open it to general public comment. All right, I'm going to close it to public comment. Close it to public comment and we'll move it to a vote. So, well, does anybody want to say anything else? I'll just say I'm really excited for this project. I know it's been a lot of work and I'm really always impressed by how well the city staff can sort of orchestrate these big projects with really working to minimize interference with things like schools. I don't know how you do it, but it's great. So thanks for getting big projects done with minimal disruption, if that's a thing that's possible. Thank you. Any other comments? Otherwise, I think we're ready for a vote. All right, roll call, please.
Chair
Oh, I'm
News,
sorry.
I'm
Madam
so
Chair.
sorry. Commissioner Schwartz, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to rush you. Did you want to say something else?
I just want to comment on the work that Askin Construction's been doing in front of my house for the last couple of weeks. Outstanding corporation. The workers and stuff been outstanding and pleasant to deal with, and really know what they're doing. Very efficient and stuff like that. So rest assured, this was the only responsible bid we got, but I feel very confident and comfortable with them. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you short
That's all right.
about that. Any other comments, commissioners? Okay, now we're ready for a roll call vote.
Chair Newts,
For,
Vice Chair Kale,
Or,
Commissioner Friedman,
4,
Commissioner Schwartz,
Or,
Commissioner Lyons.
Or,
motion passes. Have fun, Shannon. We'll look forward to your updates.
Thank you very much.
All right, the last resolution tonight is resolution 5043. This is a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Livingston, Montana, amending resolution number 5027, establishing a temporary ad hoc committee to recommend a vision for the disbursement of the non-entitlement unit American Rescue Plan Act funds. Mrs. Lowy.
Thank you. This resolution is an amendment bringing down the number of members from the commission from 2 to 1. So that was the purpose of this resolution. So there will be one participating commissioner. I believe you selected Commissioner Schwartz at a previous meeting. And with that, I will turn it back to you.
Thank you. So I wanted to, let's first get a motion on this, and then we can open it to public comment, and then we can discuss it as a commission. Does that work? Okay. So looking for a motion on, unless one of you have clarifying questions, this was a very commission-driven topic, so I'm guessing you don't have clarifying questions, but I probably shouldn't assume that. No clarifying questions? Okay, so let's hear it for the commission, a motion from the commission on this resolution.
and since I called for it, I make a motion to approve resolution 5043.
second,
A motion by Schwartz and a second by Friedman, and now we'll open it to public comment for resolution 5043. If you want to give comment, just raise your hand or put your name in the chat. Don't see anyone. Okay, so public comment for this item is closed. So commissioners, now we can discuss what we want to do. So where we left it was the appointments that we made to this ad hoc committee plus Commissioner Schwartz. And we talked about reducing the number of commissioners on this particular temporary committee. Does anyone have anything they want to say about it? I'll say that I feel comfortable doing that. I think that we have a really solid group of people, and I feel grateful that Commissioner Schwartz stepped up to help out on that committee. So I'm comfortable with us reducing it down to one commissioner. I think we have really good community involvement, and I expect that we'll have good public involvement for this particular committee as well. Do other commissioners want to speak to if they're comfortable with one commissioner on? Commissioner Lyons?
I'm certainly comfortable with one commissioner on. We, as commissioners, have all kinds of additional duties beyond our homework for these meetings, maybe a little bit more so than I expected. Commissioner Schwartz has been eager to step up, and he's really been shouldering a lot of that burden, and I just want to thank him and recognize him for being so willing to commit to all of those additional responsibilities. It's a huge, even for myself, who is doing less than Commissioner Schwartz on those things. It's a lot of work, and you're doing that to the nth degree. And so I just want to say thanks for volunteering to help in so many ways, it's seen and appreciated. I yield.
Any other commissioners want to say anything? Otherwise, we need to vote on this.
Chair Newt, I'll just say I'm comfortable with this being one, and we do have a good group of folks, and I know that Commissioner Schwartz will be great on that committee to help lead them through. So thank you, Quentin, for doing that. We really appreciate it.
All right, well then we are ready for a roll call vote to approve resolution 5043, which drops the number of commissioners down to 1. So roll
Chair
call,
Nix.
please. 4.
Vice Chair Kale,
4.
Commissioner Friedman,
4,
Commissioner Schwartz,
4.
Commissioner Lyons.
Or
Motion passes. Okay, before we move into action items, I'm going to do something out of the ordinary. It's been brought to my attention that there was some confusion about where we were meeting tonight. I'm not going to make this the norm. I just want to be clear that I'm not going to make it the norm to reopen general public comment. I'm going to make an exception this one time, but it will not be the norm. And I want to remind everyone, since some people were on a little bit late, that general public comment is for items that are not on the agenda. So if it's on the agenda, you would give comment on the agenda item. And the only thing that's appropriate for general public comment or any public comment is what the commission has jurisdiction over. So this is not the appropriate time to discuss the recent passing of our city manager, Mr. Cardus, just to be clear. And items that are discussed need to be specific to what we do have jurisdiction over. So I will make an exception this one time and reopen public comment for people who have not already given public comment. And just raise your hand or put your name in the chat and you will get 4 minutes. So Tawa, I apologize if I say your name incorrectly, but please just state your name and your address for the record, and then you'll have 4 minutes.
Can you hear me now?
yes.
Okay, my name is Talwa Jeffrey, 601 East Geyser is the address. What I wanted to make a comment on was hopefully, well, is on, let me see if I can, uncontrolled intersections in our town. And I don't know what sort of jurisdiction you have over that, but basically what I'm looking at is I've been here for over 25 years and tried to get that, get people to maybe understand how to use those better. But it's kind of a dangerous situation. And I wondered if there aren't some ideas that we could implement that would help to get people more on board and to understand the law. Part of my suggestion is that we may want to, like we have the bicycles painted on the streets, to alert people that this is a bicycle friendly road. That if we took every intersection that's an unregulated intersection and painted some sort of a symbol that would alert people this is an unregulated intersection, that would be a good start, I think, for people understanding, oh, I need to treat this differently than I have been. Tradition has, been that if I'm traveling east-west, then I have right-of-way, and that's not the law. And anyone coming to our town would not even understand that that was the law. It's just the tradition. And so I just am asking that we maybe see about, can we implement something that would help educate the people of the city of Livingston to use the intersections correctly so that we can all be safer. And that's it. Thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you for your comment, Tawa, and for joining us tonight. Is there anyone else that missed the general public comment that wants to give comment tonight? All right, I don't see anybody else. So we'll go back to our previously scheduled agenda into the action item section. So we are, as previously discussed, bumping action item A. And because of the resolution number 5043 that passed, I believe we can bump action item B since there's no other commissioner appointment. So I'm just going to open up a new tab in my screen really quick. For the action item C, there was an addendum. So this addendum C is discuss, approve, deny appointment of interim city manager for continuity of government operations. Mrs. Lowy.
Thank you. We are in an unprecedented time currently with the sudden passing of Mr. Cardus. And with that, we do have certain operational things that need to continue and move on. Part of that are the contracts you've approved this evening. Other things include signing of checks, standard government operations and pay, approval of time, things of that nature. So it is very important that we do an interim city manager appointment, even a short-term one, so that we can continue those government operations that the citizens expect of us in a timely manner and in the manner that Mr. Cardus would expect us to. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lowy. And I just wanted to add to what Mrs. Lowy said. So I have been doing my due diligence as chair also and figuring out what's next in an unprecedented situation like this. And it is the commission's responsibility. It's one of our primary tasks, right, is to appoint city manager so that that person can help oversee staff and make sure that things are moving forward. So in this case, and in this sort of emergency situation, we still need to appoint someone, even if it's for a temporary short period of time, as we are working to figure out our long-term plans. We're not ready for the long-term conversations yet. There's more information that the commission will need before we move into the long-term conversations about what's our long-term process going to be to this tragic loss. But right now we need to figure out something for the immediate, this like emergency situation, how to get the bases covered so that city staff can continue to do their work. And so everything that Mrs. Lowy was saying, I have had that confirmed independently also with the local government center, that this is the process that we need to move forward on so that business can keep happening in Livingston in the meantime. So first, clarifying questions from the commission about this agenda item.
Madam Chair.
Yeah, Commissioner Schwartz.
So are we nominating somebody to be interim city manager, or is the hierarchy already established?
Great question. So we, the commission, need to make that decision. Okay. I expect that based on my last 4-ish years experience working with Mr. Cardus, that he would have some recommendations for us. It's my understanding that those conversations probably had happened internally with staff, and that based on the information I have, and I'll look to city staff to confirm this for me, my understanding is that Lisa Lowy would be the immediate, recommendation in this like emergency situation to help us as we're transitioning. Mrs. Lowy, is there anything you would add to that?
Those were discussions that City Manager Cardus had with us, with all of the department heads about a week before he passed. And he did communicate that in writing, that I would be the interim if he were going to be out for a prolonged period of time, with Attorney Llewellyn as my backup if I needed to be out for some reason. So those were his intentions, and those were the plans that we had discussed amongst ourselves as a group. And I believe he did send that out to folks as well.
Thank you. And I did see that. So I think the important distinction here is when we have a city manager in place, if that city manager is out of town or away from the office for a specific reason, they would let the commission know who their point person is when they're gone. And that was the system in place that Mr. Cardus had put in motion, was if he needed to be out for some reason, Mrs. Lowy was the next person sort of in line in the chain of responsibility. Obviously, this situation is different because he's not like just out temporarily. This is a different situation. And so it requires a commission appointment. But we do have this information that's just over a week old of his intention should he be out for some temporary reason. Does that answer your question, Commissioner Schwartz?
Yes, and just one more clarifying comment. Is this open to the public? This action item?
Yes, this will be open to the public to comment on. I will be putting some guardrails up on the comment before I open it to public comment.
Okay, then I'll hold back. I'll reserve my comments and stuff before the vote. Thank you. I yield.
Yes, and thank you for those questions. It's really unprecedented. So good clarifying questions for sure. Other commissioners, do you have clarifying questions on this? Commissioner Lyons, and then we'll go to Vice Chair Keel. Commissioner Lyons.
Are there, are there required qualifications of who is appointed by the commission? Meaning, do we need to only consider existing department heads in the city of Livingston? What are the bounds of the interim acting manager?
So my understanding of this role, and I will kick it over to staff when I'm done, but I'll tell you that my understanding of this role is that there are many paths forward that are valid, and that many cities take different paths to meet the needs of their community during times like these. So it's often the case that commissions or councils will turn to department heads. And it's also often the case that commissions or councils will bring in someone externally to serve the role as interim. One thing that's not typical, Commissioner Lyons, is the situation that we're facing now, where there was no transition plan to put things in place. So we're like in a real emergency situation where we don't have as much time built in as we would if it would have been a normal succession process. Does that answer your question? And then I would turn it over to Mrs. Lowy if because you are also the HR person in the city of Livingston, in terms of qualifications for the position, can you speak to not so much the permanent hire qualifications, but these sort of like emergency times?
Mm-hmm. I previously served as interim for 18 months in between when city manager Meese left and when we were able to actually get Mr. Cardus here. So if you're talking about qualifications, there's prior experience, there's an educational component, usually a minimum of being bachelor's prepared. Master's prepared is preferred. I do meet both of those and do have 18 months of previous experience doing the role. And as the HR director, I'm involved in many of the operations across the organization, not just specifically HR. It tends to touch just about everything.
Does that answer your question, Commissioner Lyons? You still have the floor.
I think so. Thank you. I yield.
Vice Chair Kale, you have the floor.
Thank you. I think I wanted to just get a little more clarification. I mean, we're talking about an emergency, you know, this is sort of an emergency situation. We're in this time of emergency. And then we discussed the long-term, you know, solution, which I, in my mind, I'm thinking, you know, is the permanent hire. But I also wonder if we need to think of it more as the emergency situation, the interim, the intermediate time, and then the long-term hire. And I, you know, I certainly think that in this time of emergency, we need to move forward with someone and potentially maybe that, you know, that's the person that Michael had selected. But I wonder if it would make sense to then think about getting through the next couple of weeks. I mean, this has been very difficult for everyone. And then looking at the intermediate time and then looking at the permanent. You know, I think that we all need a little more information to make some decisions and to just make sure that the staff is getting the support and that they need. So that's just my thought. I kind of wanted to get a little more clarity around that.
Yeah, there's one thing that I forgot to add, and I would again turn to staff, and I'm sorry that so much is coming out right now, and I didn't have the chance to ask this before. This is unprecedented. So it's my understanding for interim city roles that typically a contract is also involved, so that it really like spells out expectations for and makes the role clear. I certainly don't want to put any department heads or anyone in the position of like a nebulous, vague role. This is an emergency situation we're talking about. And as we move into the next phase, which we're not ready for yet, of discussing what the long-term process looks like, we'll need something more defined as far as I can tell, but I would defer also to Mrs. Lowy and the city attorney, because I believe that interim positions often involved contracts, not just for this role, but for any department head role or any other role. But I just want to make sure that's accurate. Mrs. Lowy, can you speak to that? I know it's a lot of HR, things.
Usually for an interim role, there is usually some sort of a limited agreement. It will define things like pay, term, you know, things of that nature. One of the things that we as an organization are challenged with right now is the amount of projects that we have already underway and in the hopper. And on a short-term basis, bringing in someone for 12 weeks and having to train them, and then they leave, and then you're bringing in the permanent to train again. There's a lot of additional burden on staff with that sort of a model, rather than appointing someone who is already involved in all of those items. So that's part of the idea behind the different methodologies of how cities will handle this when the situation comes up. And to Chair Nutz's point, we are going to have some very in-depth conversations about the path forward, the recruitment for a permanent city manager, what that looks like with recruiting firms, timelines, and how we go about that. And we've begun to collect some initial information that I can certainly get out to all of you, but that's probably for next week or so.
Does that help get at your question, Vice Chair Kale? So there's really like, there will be phases, and we will have to define things more clearly. This is like the emergency situation where city staff needs somebody that can sign off on things even before we can start the next phase of decision-making as a commission, because contractors and all these like contractor grant things can't wait. And so this is like a temporary emergency decision with the expectation that we're not done talking about this and we have more to figure out together as a commission supporting the department heads during this time. Does that make sense?
I think so. So just to clarify, tonight we are going to appoint an emergency interim city manager, and then we will have to again look at this to come up with some sort of a contract for that interim position at a later date. just want to make sure that we're all clear on what we're talking about tonight. That's all, so that everybody knows.
Yes, that's my understanding of what needs to happen. And that's, again, a responsibility of the commission, one of our primary duties. We must do this so that city staff can do what they need to do. So we're going to have to select someone and appoint someone. We have the information from Mr. Cardus. We have some idea of what city staff is looking for in the immediate. Is there anything I'm missing, Mrs. Lowy? I think you've been like the delegate for staff, the unofficial staff delegate. Is there anything, City Attorney Llewellyn, that I missed or misstated that you would want to clarify about contracts or?
Just that in adding somebody to this position, that it would be a good idea to have a limitation on that contract, perhaps with a renewal period, say 6 months with a 3-month renewal, with the understanding that that person would be timed out if there's a permanent hire. So that would give the staff member the opportunity to know what that limitation is, and also have some expectation around what that time limit is going to be, and where we think this is going to go with the move towards a permanent hire.
Thank you. Okay, so clarifying questions. I know this is a lot. Clarifying questions, commissioners, otherwise.
I'll just add one. Well, I don't know if it's clarifying, but Mrs. Lowy did serve those 18 months as interim manager. I don't believe she was compensated for that at that time. And I just want to make sure if she is appointed that we do compensate her for the additional duties. Thank you. I yield.
I want to just ask a process question. So given the potential conflict of interest, I hope that it's okay that I'm going to go to the City Attorney Llewellyn. Is that something like potential compensation that would be worked out via this contract type thing that we're talking about? Or like, could we do that retroactively, like do that later and then retroactively apply it? Or is that something we have to figure out now?
So actually our past practice has been that if you're filling the role for another department head, that you're going to get some additional compensation, or that you will get up to the compensation of that department head. And that was what happened the last time that Mrs. Lowy was the city manager. She was paid as the city manager. And it would certainly be my recommendation that she be paid that way again, with the same compensation and benefits as the city manager through the term that she holds that position. That's also an easier, I guess, transition for somebody within the organization.
Okay, thank you for that. So
Yeah, thanks for that clarification. I couldn't remember. I'm sorry, I was ignorant on that, and I yield.
It was a long time ago, thankfully.
Yeah.
well, and nobody expects us, we don't have to remember everything, Commissioner Schwartz. So, okay, so just to be clear, we're talking about an immediate temporary appointment, and like this longer interim position will be a vote at a later time, but at least we have some information to better understand the process as we move forward. So any other clarifying questions, or are we done getting clarity now?
Madam Chair,
Commissioner Friedman.
I want to thank Lisa, Courtney, all the staff people during this terrible period. We've got the most capable people in the world right now sitting and looking at my screen that know this operation. And I think the correct conversation is that Lisa's in that role and we take care of that. And at some point future, we're looking down the road, but right now there's nobody else in this town that knows, or in the state of Montana that knows the operation better than the people we're working with. And I want to compliment them. I've been on the commission a long time. We got good, solid people. We've always good. They've been there thick and thin right through this whole thing for years. And right now, after this terrible tragedy, they stepped right up and this thing is moving along. Yes, we got to look down to the future, but at the moment, I feel very comfortable. We got the right people moving this thing along. So I know it's required conversation in the future, but I want to thank them for a very difficult period that we're going through, and I yield.
Thank you. Okay, so this is, I'm thinking about process. So we're going to need a motion. It's going to need to be specific with a person. We don't currently have a city manager to call on people. I want to follow process and protocol. So Mrs. Lowy, I see many other department heads on as well. I don't know if anybody else needs to speak to this or not before the commission makes a motion. I would defer to see if there's anybody else that needed to be called on, or if we're good. Okay. Okay.
I think we're good.
Okay, thank you. Just want to. Okay, so I guess the next thing I need, commissioners, is, if we're ready for it, is a motion. Oh, did somebody come off mute? Okay, so the next thing I'm going to need before we open it to public comment is a motion for a specific appointment. We're gonna have to name the person. So do we have a motion from the commission on who the temporary interim city manager will be for Livingston?
I will make a motion to approve Lisa Lowy as temporary interim city manager of the city of Livingston. Until, I don't know if we, time period wise, is that until a new hire? Because Lisa will be involved, in the process.
No, it won't be until a new
Clarify it.
hire. Commissioner Schwartz, it won't be
Okay.
until a new hire, because we need to set out something like
Okay.
what
Then I'll make
Attorney
a motion.
Llewellyn. So I think temporary interim city manager should hold us over.
That should be good enough.
Until the city attorney can help us draft up something and we can move on a path forward with something more concrete. Yeah, okay, so we have a
Okay.
motion for Lisa Lowy as the temporary interim city manager. Is there a second?
Second.
So we have a motion by Schwartz and a second by Friedman, and I just want to look to you, City Attorney Llewellyn, to make sure I got that right before we move forward.
There is a motion that you asked for and a second that you asked for.
Yes, and then this is just the temporary, and the next thing would be you'd help us draft some sort of contract and figure out a permanent interim.
Well,
A
you
permanent
could
interim?
certainly set a time limit now, like we talked about with the 6 months and the 3 months with an automatic renewal based on the same terms as Mr. Cardus's contract, but you don't have to do that. You
Okay,
can, but you don't have to.
okay, great, thank you. So we're set with the temporary, and then we can have that other conversation later after we all have more information to dial in that time frame. Also.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. Before I open it to public comment, I want to make sure that this is something that Mrs. Lowy would accept where we're at. I want to make sure this works for you too, because I don't want you to put you in a position.
Yes, this is a way for us to move forward in the way Mike would want us to.
Okay. Thank you, Mrs. Lowy. Now, before I open it to public comment, I'm going to say a couple things. This is not a performance evaluation. Performance evaluations occur in a very specific way for city staff, city managers included, interim city managers included. So if anybody wants to give comment, I want to be clear that I will only allow respectful comments, and I want comments to be on topic to what we're voting on. Is that clear? Everybody's with me? Okay, so now I'm going to open it to public comment. Keep those boundaries in mind when you give comment. And if you want to give comment on this agenda item, please raise your hand or put your name in the chat. I see Mr. Maybe. Can you please state your name and address for the record?
Sure, Warren Navy, 310 South H Street, Livingston. I just want to say that out of the absolute tragedy, this is probably the most seamless interim emergency leadership that Livingston could have. It's someone who's filled a job before for 18 months, is totally up to speed on all the projects and personnel in Livingston, and person most important was selected by Michael. Thank you.
Thank you, Warren. Anyone else? Public comment for this agenda item is closed. Thank you for setting the tone and keeping it respectful, Warren. So now we're going to go back to commission deliberation. Commissioner Lyons.
Yeah, I think that I appreciate Warren's comment. I think that a very important consideration right now is institutional knowledge and just ease of continuing operations. I think that with that in mind, also with respect for Mr. Cardos in mind, I think that Mrs. Lowy is a great candidate to take over his role in this time, and so because she had the support of Mr. Cardos, and because she has the experience in the role, she has my support as well.
Thank you, Commissioner Lyons. Other commissioners? Vice Chair Kale.
I would just like to thank Mrs. Lowy for stepping up in this moment and for stepping up when all of this happens. And I know that your staff appreciates you and are thankful for your leadership at this time. And so thank you for putting yourself out there and for stepping up and stepping in when we needed you. And you are greatly appreciated.
Thank you, Vice Chair Kale.
Yeah,
Commissioner Schwartz.
just to let me add that I had the pleasure to work with Lisa when I was first appointed to City Commission during the hiring process of Michael, and we are in very, very good hands. And additionally, our staff is so competent just because of leadership under Michael. We couldn't be in a better place at a worse time. Thank you. I yield.
Thank you, Commissioner Schwartz. Commissioner Friedman, do you have anything you'd like to add?
Ditto.
Ditto.
Comment, but I think it's been a lot of pressure ever since we heard about the event that happened. And we are surrounded, thank God, by very good people. And that's what we're trying to take advantage of in a short period of time and not add any more confusion. So I think we're on the right track, and I think that's the way we should go. Especially since it was Michael's intention to see that's the way it was going to go. So I'm all for it, and let's move forward.
Thank you, Commissioner Freeman. I would just echo what all of my fellow commissioners have said. It brings me great comfort to see so many department heads at the meeting tonight. I also appreciate that as chair, when this all happened, Mrs. Lowy, that you had, that we met somewhere in the middle and were able to get information together quickly from the staff on what they needed from the commission to keep moving forward, such as the items on the agenda tonight. And I know that this is probably a very difficult thing for you to say yes to for a whole host of reasons. And I just want to thank you for stepping into this position under such extraordinary circumstances. And I also want to really go on the record saying that, my hope and my intention for this commission is that we will be very clear and decisive and really work together for long-term solutions in a way that supports the city staff and the department heads as we move forward, at least to the best of our abilities. So thank you. All right. I think everybody's commented. We have a motion. We have a second. Were you wanting to say something else, Vice Chair Kale?
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we are ready for a roll call vote, please.
Chair Nudes,
For.
Vice Chair Kale,
Or
Commissioner Friedman,
4.
I apologize, Commissioner Schwartz,
Or
Commissioner Lyons.
Motion passes and no apology necessary. We are all feeling it, I think, tonight. So deep breath, everybody. The next thing on the agenda is city manager comments. Mrs. Lowy.
I would just like to thank the extraordinary staff of the city who has held it together and supported each other so well during this time and wanting us to march forward in the way that Mike would want us to. So thank you to the entire staff and to the commission for their support of us in this. And of course, our deepest sympathies go out to the Cardews family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Lowy. City commissioner comments. Commissioner Lyons.
Yeah, just I'd like to extend my condolences to the Cardos family and also to city staff. I can't imagine what you all are going through right now, and the pain and the shock and the grief, and then you add to that the the uncertainty and the additional responsibilities that are going to befall all of you, not just Mrs. Lally, but everyone in the city staff is going to have to contribute in one way or another. And the commission will as well. And so those additional responsibilities just compound the emotions that everyone's feeling. And so I commend you all for being here tonight. I actually think that Commissioner Schwartz comment is super valuable at this point. He said that we couldn't be in a better place at a worse time. I think that is incredibly well said, and that is owed largely to the leadership of Mr. Cardos and the work of his staff and the department heads that are here tonight. And so, you know, no one could have predicted where we'd be today, but to the smallest degree, it's made a little bit easier by the fact that the city's in a good place. And we have Cardos and all of the city staff to thank for that. And I, as a commissioner, am here and available to support however I can. And if that's just to be a friend to talk to, or to do some additional work. You all know that my phone number is the best way to reach me. And so in whatever way I can contribute, I'm happy to, but I just recognize that this is a really difficult time emotionally, and my expectations for city staff for some time to come will take into account how difficult of a time this is. So thank you all for everything that you've done, and I just want to say that I'm so sorry that you all are dealing with this right now, and we all are, and we're all here to make it as tolerable as possible, and thank you all. I yield.
Thank you. Commissioner Schwartz.
Oh, this is tough, but short and sweet. Michael, thank you for your vision, your leadership, and friendship. I gotta yield.
Commissioner Friedman.
Well, I think we're, not much more can be said. I just, now that we all have to pull together, and this has been tough from the get-go, from when I first heard about it, and it just plays around with your mind. But right now we're trying to take care of business, and we got the right people, thank God. So I wish them luck on what they've got to do. And as commissioners, we just have to step up and take care of business. Thank you.
Thank you. Vice Chair Kale.
First, I'd like to offer my condolences to Michael's family. I can't imagine how difficult this is for them, and I hope that they know that we're all here to support them. I know the city staff is, and we as a commissioner too. Thank you to the city staff for stepping up and moving forward and holding onto one another and holding each other up, because you definitely have been doing that. And we appreciate all the work that you're doing. And as Tori said, I know that there's going to be a lot more work on everybody, and we are here as your commission to help. And I am happy to help in any way I can. I know I swung by the office this morning and said, if you need me to come answer phones or something for a little while, I'm happy to do that. So you all can take a step away and take a breath. And I know that all of us are here to help and support you in that. And I I look forward to all of us coming together as we get a little further down the road and finding a way to permanently memorialize Michael for the work that he's done for our city. And I look forward to the staff and all of us coming together to find out what that would be. That would be a wonderful thing. But we're here for you. We appreciate you as staff, each and every one of you. And thank you to Michael for setting us up in a way that we can move forward without him in this moment. I yield.
Thank you. I would just echo what everyone else has already said. It's a great honor to work alongside all of you, commissioners and department heads, and especially Mr. Cardus. We'll do our best, and I hope we can just keep working closely together and coming together around this as we move forward. I don't have anything else to say, or we have lots of things to say, but not now. I think that's it for comments. Thank you all for being here tonight. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Okay.
Motion by Lyons, second by Schwartz. All in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed, say nay. This Livingston City Commission meeting on June 7th is adjourned at 7:01 p.m. Good night.
Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you.